Three, two, one, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. Today, it's another Visions Day, and what a wonderful day it is. We're past the first third, right, of the series and into the second third, and we're today discussing The Village Bride. What an episode that is. I can finally come back after the duel and say that this was an episode that I thoroughly enjoyed. But before going into all of that, what is up, Mo? How are you doing? Yeah.
Good. Thanks, everybody. Welcome back to our little chat. Unfortunately, Nani still in midterms, so we
Wishing her all the best
of luck.
Well, she doesn't need luck. She's one of the people that always does. She always breaks the curves. So in any case, everyone needs luck from her because she's gonna do well.
She's gonna do well. She's gonna break the curve.
Yes.
She doesn't need cacao.
No, but she distributes it.
Distributes the cacao.
Yes. people make her coffee, not the other way around.
Facts. So we wish her the best of luck, and we miss her, especially during anime, which is when Nani lost. But
that's her jam.
Without the Princess Bride, the Princess Bride.
No, but I see why you said that though, because the Village Bride has some Princess Mononoke vibes. So Princess Village Bride. Yeah, I see the mistake.
The Village Bride
and the Princess Bride is a beautiful movie. We can talk about that in another episode.
Yes, absolutely. Worth a watch. So definitely give it. I think it might be on Netflix too. So
the Princess Bride, Disney Plus owns everything now.
There you go. So the Village Bride. This one was probably, or at least what I felt like the most traditional anime of the lot, if that makes any sense. Like it had like all of the elements very. There were a lot of things that just made the episode flow so beautifully, starting with the music, the visuals, the integration of like the philosophy and the way of life that's very Zen, if we can put a word towards it, which in a way the Force is inspired about from like Buddhist and Zen. So it has so much elements and so much beauty in it. It was also the episode that irked me the most, just because there were parts that on a personal level I don't jive with, but that's beyond the point. Especially just
we're not here about that though.
We'll get to it. But the delivery, the art style, the pacing, it was just all perfectly, and it just felt like, I think it goes back to that ethereal realm that we probably were giving in the first episode of Visions. That it feels like it almost feels like a dream that it's more of a journey.
Absolutely.
What about you, Goose? What were your first impressions?
I don't think, because it's my opinion, so I know my opinion. It's definitely one of my top episodes for sure. Like, I don't know if it's top 3 or a top 5, but definitely in the top. I absolutely loved it, and especially because of what you just said about the etherealness of it. Especially when you open the scene, right? And like they're going from space into the forest and they're just like immersed in the forest. There's something about those visuals and how it's animated, how it's colorized, and then how the music plays out that I just felt heightened. It didn't just feel like a Star Wars movie. It didn't just Star Wars media. It didn't just feel like anime. It felt like it transcended both in a way, and it had like all the mystery and beauty of anime, but with the lived-in sci-fi fantasy qualities of Star Wars, and just was able to transcend both of those. And obviously, the music and the animation style are very reminiscent of Miyazaki, especially Princess Mononoke. I mean, I'm not a big anime fan, as I've said many a time before, but those I've definitely seen those Miyazaki films, especially Princess Mononoke. And if there's one thing that encapsulates what's magical Miyazaki films, is like that music and that connection to nature. And Village Bride perfectly encapsulates that in a very beautiful way. And to have the character designs, especially how F, which I think is her name in the show, like how her cloak is like dark on the outside, but it's very colorful on the inside, and like her awesome like high-speed stiletto, high heel shoes, and her lightsaber design. It just all felt so magical within that Star Wars mythos. I really appreciate it, and that whole connection with nature again. With I forgot the term that the characters use, but how the bride and the groom were like communing with nature, and like the blue beams that form with that, and the memories of the village are tied to the experiences of the world within them. I just felt it was a very beautiful episode, and not just in how it was animated, but also the pacing of it. There's a tranquility to it, but with an underlying tension that then just kind of blows up at the end during that confrontation between F and the bandits, right, that are attacking the village with the battle droids. But and I like the way that she finished that battle, right, because it wasn't a flashy lightsaber battle like everyone wants to see all the time. It was very samurai-esque. It was very like Obi-Wan / Darth Maul. It was like a master swords person who knows what they're doing and only has to strike once, and the conflict is over. And she does that in a very beautiful, masterful way that like just encapsulates the episode in such a poetic way, which I think it's one of the best things I like about it. It's the etherealness, the poeticness, the landscape of it. It's just the textures of the episode are just exquisite, and all those scenes when they're in the village with the bride and F, I could just imagine Quentin Tarantino appropriating that and making like a his own like a Kill Bill Volume 3 in space type of film based on that, because we all know Tarantino is very into all of these Japanese storytelling media. So I don't know. I think I'm gushing a little too much about the episode, but I'm curious to see what are the things about the episode that didn't necessarily work for you.
No, it's again, it has nothing to do with the episode. It's just more on a personal level, on the, just the old like fashion like stereotypes of like, oh, this like woman cannot go up and walk, and like
right
just little things that are cultural aspects to it. And that's why I can't say it's anything wrong with the storytelling. It's just don't jive with me on a personal level, and that's okay too. Like
it's interesting though, because they do that, but they also they don't subvert it, right? Because the bride is the bride. But all the characters that are active in doing anything about it are female coded characters, right? Her sister and F are the ones that are actively either leading the rebellion or ending the conflict. So I think that's creates a nice little trinity in a way of like roles that we still have like a more traditional subservient female type role, which it's kind of passe right at this point in time with our where our storytelling is nowadays. But
even in the role, you can see that the bride, the spouse was there for the bride. It wasn't the other way around. It wasn't like the bride was just gonna be an accessory to the spouse. Like the spouse was actually there to just be like help her and along the way. So it's just, again, just personal opinion. Just had to put it out there.
All opinions are personal if you think about it.
Fact. Well, I mean, you could have non-personal opinions. No way.
Then it's not an opinion.
Or is it?
That's for another episode.
But the whole pacing of the development of F was just amazing. I love like how, you have a character that's hiding behind a mask, who clearly seems to be just there for a lesson, and that's what we see. That we see their growth, they get their lesson, and then they get on their X-wing and just fly away.
Get out. Which is a trope, right? It's we're more used to it in the Western world through like cowboys, right? And like the lone gunman. But that trope comes from samurai films of the Ronin or whatever, who's just traveling the roads and encounters a village and is apprehensive at first about helping them, but then like does the right thing and rides off into the sunset onto the next adventure.
Up to the next, just to save the next, whoever runs up next with them. That's why I think going back to like jumping to when we talked about the Tatooine Rhapsody episode, that's why I think the use of the Force there could be even more efficient, because here they're just saving one incident, on the other they're giving a whole sort of people like hope and openness to take their lives in their own direction. Because then, what's to say that what's going to stop from the next set of bandits to come over and take over the droids and do the same thing? Like, it's just a matter of time versus empowering them.
I see what you're saying, but the only problem I would have had if they had taken kind of that approach with this episode is that then it would have been like the Seven Samurai story that we've seen like not only many times in samurai films and the Magnificent Seven, but also in Star Wars. They told that story. Like in Mandalorian, they did that once. They did that in Clone Wars. They've done that story where the Jedi or the hero trains the village to be able to fend for themselves. So now that it can't be told in a way that's like fresh and not as derivative as we've seen before, but I think we've kind of seen a little too much of that lately. And the fact that they did it this way, I think it's a nice break from always going to the Seven Samurai template.
No, I'm more like complimenting the use of the Force as a band than actually just roaming around.
Yeah, because I think here the Force is a little more restrained. It's not like everyone's like F is using the Force to force push and do all these magnificent things. Like at times when we see her use the Force, it's really like to lift that rock while she's communing right in the forest at night, and then it talks to the bright sister. So the Force here is used to be in touch with nature, not so much to use it for aggression and violence, which I thought was a nice touch, to be very subtle.
Yeah. And then I got compliments to whoever came up with the designs for the clothes and the props and everything in this episode. Even a buckethead was able to take down a whole ship. So
right. It was so inventive. That the helmet was pretty cool. But for me, like the highlight will always be like her high heels are cool. Don't get me wrong. Like when she is ready to do her killing blow, and then you see the high heels just shift into gear so she can get super speed. But for me, like what did it was the lightsaber. It just kind of opens its little cap, and then the blade just emanates from the side and then comes out. I was like, oh yeah.
And it's like a traditional katana lightsaber, yellow lightsaber.
Like we need to see some more of that stuff in live action now, like more unique lightsaber ignitions like that. Because I think with the Ninth Jedi, obviously Village Bride, we've seen some really interesting ideas for lightsaber treatments that I think we can, take these and apply them into live action so that our live action lightsabers aren't all the same all the time. I did think that they tried that a little bit with Kylo's lightsaber with the crackling effect and the crackling sounds and stuff, but that's still a baby step towards what they did here in Visions. Visions kind of nailed it, especially we'll talk about Ninth Jedi when we get to that episode. But in that episode, the little lightsaber halo in the Margrave's lightsaber, I was like, oh yeah, doesn't make sense, but I love how it looks.
Doesn't make sense, but I love it.
Yep.
But that's the whole point of Visions, it doesn't have to make sense. You just have to love it, or not. But
it's one of those things that I think people get too bogged down with on Star Wars, and we've talked about it ad nauseum sometimes when we're talking about the canon controversies in the past. But everything in this universe is fake, right? Like lightsabers don't exist. We can't travel at light speed. Dogs don't speak. There's no magic. So there's maybe. So we'll see.
Well, there's a proto saber, so that is a thing.
Yeah, I saw a video on YouTube about it. It looks terrifying. So they need to refine it a little bit more before. Anyway, I don't want a lightsaber. I'm gonna chop my hand off the first chance I get by accident. Exactly. It's just but anyway, the point is that there's this whole fantastical element, and George Lucas always wanted it to feel like a fairy tale and to be more of a fantasy than a sci-fi. And people try to inject so much rationality into Star Wars that it detracts from what the storytelling is trying to achieve. And I don't know if that's a consequence of canon or the barrier of seeing things in live action that makes you need it to be real. But Visions, because of the medium, has the ability to break away from that in a way that's very liberating. Even though I saw some discourse online too about people complaining about the umbrella lightsaber on the duel, which I'm like, really? You're going to complain about one of the most awesome things for a lightsaber to ever have done in the history of lightsabers? But okay. And that's really going to turn you off from the beautiful storytelling that this series has done. Go for it. So I don't know. I really want more stories like The Village Bride, because that whole, again, it's the appropriate word, the whole ethereal feeling of the episode. It's something that's just beautiful that I think we need a little bit more in storytelling and in our lives. We need a little more etherealness, a little more nature, a little more communing of the self.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's the beauty of it. I think Visions hits the mark better than most canon, because again, we're talking about that's the whole intro. It's this is a story of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So what are the chances that the details of the stories you get are 100% canon or true? No.
Yeah, it's not a documentary, it's a story.
It's not. It's more like, if you see it more as oral stories, take for example all the different myths about Hercules. There are 3 or 5 different versions of the virgin birth. There's 10 other versions, and they all have slightly different details on how it happened. And that's the cool thing about it. Just inject that originality. I think it was much needed in Star Wars, and I hope they learn a lot from this going forward.
Absolutely, especially when you look at it side by side with the current storytelling that's going on with the High Republic books, which we've talked before, that it's a really good storytelling. It's really enjoyable, but it's still locked into Star Wars. It's still locked into the familiar, even though it's in a new era. That's as exciting as it is. I still think that storytelling in Star Wars can break free even more to become that much more poetic and special, like Visions has been. So for sure, not only do I want to see another season of Visions maybe in 2 or 3 years, but I want to see the lessons of Visions applied into more storytelling going forward. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good point to kind of cap off the conversation. I don't know if you had any final thoughts before concluding this wonderful episode on our wonderful episode on a wonderful episode of Visions.
No, I'll probably, it's gonna be the episode that I'm gonna rehear or look for the playlist most, whatever term that is, because the music was just amazing. And
yeah, absolutely.
I think without it, the story would not have been what it was. That's for sure.
No, it's just like the Star Wars films, right? The original trilogy, prequel trilogy would not have been what it was without I was gonna say George Lucas's, without John Williams's score. Like the music and the movies are inherently tied, and I think it's the same thing with Village Bride in particular. The music is just as much as a protagonist in the story as like any of the other things that are happening within it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But with that, I think we have reached the end of our episode. Thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We will see you next time when we come in to talk about our next couple of episodes for Visions. Stay tuned for that. But if you haven't, make sure to go back and listen to our other previous episodes where we discussed the first 3 episodes of Visions. Those are out now, so please make sure to do that if you're going to keep joining us in this adventure of analysis and review. If you haven't, and if you like the video, please make sure to share, like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any suggestions or any opinions they would like to leave us about the show. Do you agree? Do you disagree with us? Please let us know. We are more than happy to hear and engage with everyone's thoughts and opinions. You can find us on social media at Triad of the Force on Twitter and Instagram. And if you really like us and would like to support the channel, we have a TeePublic store where we have a bunch of designs on a bunch of different products, from t-shirts, hoodies, masks, iPhone cases, you name it. Just go there, get yourself something. There's always a sale going on. So every dollar helps to keep the channel afloat. But with that, thank you so much. We are Triad of the Force, signing off.